preparations for the election. Thank you.
Now, Madame Vergiat is our next speaker for 2 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President. I would tend to say that the human rights situation in Zimbabwe is not what we'd normally call an emergency in this chamber. If we look at the degree of human rights violations in that country, we can see that they're happening time and again, despite all the resolutions we've adopted in this Parliament. Last one, last July, denounced the arrest of Mr. Fahai Fagur, founder of the Research and Development Centre, who was found guilty of vague charges in the mining district, the diamond mining district, and was imprisoned. The phenomena we're looking at here are nothing new, as Mrs. Veronique de Keyser just said. The sort of operations now being carried out by the Zimbabwe operations government is very similar to what we saw in 2005. They say they're restoring order. A major programme, of course, for them. And I think all this shows exactly what the Zimbabwean authorities think about law and order. 700,000 people have been affected in the latest moves by the government. Their methods have been denounced all around the world. How far have we got today? Most of the people suffering are living in tents, and worse, last summer the armed police, I repeat police, came and set fire to the shelters 250 people were living in on the outskirts of Harare. Hundreds of thousands of people are still likely to suffer the same fate just because they are supposed not to have paid their taxes on their temporary shelters. These are the poorest people in the country. Are we going to let this happen without saying anything? Are we once again going to remind the Zimbabwean authorities of their international commitments, as Mrs. Ashton did last July at the EU-Zimbabwe summit? We know that there are difficulties between the President and the Prime Minister since the agreement they signed in December 2008 and February this year. Recently, Mr. Zimbabwe threatened to dismiss the government because he thought it had violated its constitutional duties. It is time to call the Zimbabwean government to order, stop dialoguing with dictators who have taken power by force and by fraud just in order to take the riches of the country for themselves.
Thank you. Mr. Kadek now for 1 minute.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. I'll try to stick to my minute. President, my dear colleagues, Zimbabwe is going through sombre times. Recently, once again, we are going to adopt